guys. So, first things first, make sure you have read both passages, okay? You should have opened the Google Doc and read the two stories, Breaking Out of the Box and A Bountiful Billboard, okay? You need to have read both of these stories before you complete this ed puzzle. Let's now look at the first section. The first section wants you to use Breaking Out of the Box, Story 1, to answer questions 1 through 3. Number 1 says, the title of the selection highlights the idea that shipping containers, A, are not as sturdy as people assume, B, can function in ways that are not commonly considered, C, are useful for creating large pieces of art, or D, should not be deconstructed before they are used for projects. Okay, go ahead and take a second and answer the question now. Okay, so you should have selected answer B, can function in ways that are not commonly considered. The question is asking, the title of the selection highlights the idea that shipping containers are what? If we go back and look at the title, it says breaking out of the box, okay? That's an expression of when you're doing something that's out of the normal, right? If you're breaking out of the box, you're going against what everybody else is doing and doing it your own way. That is closest to answer B, that you can function in ways that are not commonly considered, okay? Answer A says, are not as sturdy as people assume. They don't talk anything about whether or not a shipping container is sturdy or not in the title. It also says, are useful for creating large pieces of art. They don't talk at all about whether the shipping containers are used for art in the title. And then the last one, should be deconstructed before they are used for projects. They don't talk anything about deconstruction or projects. They're talking about that the shipping containers can have this interesting use and can be used for ways that you might not normally think. B, okay? Number 2, what is the main idea of paragraph 5? So before we do anything, let's go back and reread paragraph 5. Okay, it says sculpture artists from all over the world have also found value in repurposing shipping containers. Artists rework the shell of the containers by reshaping the corrugated metal. Whether welding the panels into new shapes or using them as metal canvases, artists have found that the possibilities are endless. The Container Art Project was established by innovative artists to help museums share artistic collections around the world. In addition to using the retired containers to move art pieces, the project has also used the interior of the containers as the setting for the galleries themselves. Okay, so we're looking for the main idea of the selection, not a specific detail, but overall, what was this paragraph about? Do you believe that it was A, that artists must reshape the shell of the shipping container to make sculptures? B, storing and moving art pieces in shipping containers are simple processes? C, artists see the potential of incorporating shipping containers into their art? Or D, museums are using shipping containers as galleries to share their collections? So go ahead and select your answer now. Okay, you should have selected answer C. Let's go through the answer choices so we know why that one is the right one. First, A, artists must reshape the shell of the shipping container to make sculptures. That might be true, but it's not the main idea of paragraph 5. That is more of a detail on how the art is made. B, storing and moving art pieces in shipping containers are simple processes. Whether or not that's true or not, again, that's a detail about moving art. But the entire paragraph was a lot of different things. It was talking about how artists use them, how they're moved, how they can be used as galleries, right? Overall, the paragraph is closest to C, that artists see the potential of incorporating shipping containers into their art. And then we know that D, again, is just another detail, that museums are using shipping containers as galleries to share their collections. That is true. They do talk about that in paragraph 5, but that's just one detail of the overall main idea of paragraph 5. Okay, last one for just this story. Number 3, which sentence from the selection supports the idea that creating sculptures from shipping containers is cost efficient? So let's read that again. Which sentence from the selection supports the idea that creating structures from shipping containers is cost efficient, meaning it's cheap? Is it A, that shipping containers are used to haul cargo on ships, trains, and trucks? B, one trend that has gained popularity is creating houses from retired shipping containers? C, with all these options and new purposes, fewer shipping containers will be headed to the junkyard? Or D, urban areas and colleges that struggle to provide affordable housing have also begun to explore building container houses and workspaces. Okay, go ahead and select your answer now. Okay, you should have selected answer D. Let's go through the answer choices. First one, shipping containers are used to haul cargo on ships, trains, and trucks. That might be true, but it's not talking anything about cost or whether it's actually cheap or expensive to do that. And we're trying to understand why are using shipping containers cost efficient with structures. So we know that's not A. B, one trend that has gained popularity is creating houses from retired shipping containers. Okay, that might be true, but again, it's not really talking anything about the cost. We know that it's popular, but they're not saying whether that it's a cheaper or more expensive option to do that. C, with all these options and new purposes, fewer shipping containers will be headed to the junkyard. That's good news, but that's more about a benefit for the environment. That's not really a financial benefit. The best answer is D, that urban areas and colleges that struggle to provide affordable, meaning cheap housing, have also begun to explore building container houses and workspaces. If they're able to provide affordable housing, that means that it's being cost efficient, that they have good ways of using the money in a very succinct and simple way. Okay, the next one is you're going to use a Bountiful billboard, so story 2, to answer questions 4 through 7. Okay, question 4. Which words from paragraph 2 help the reader understand what scant means? Let's go back and read paragraph 2. The engineers at the University of Engineering and Technology of Peru thought about how Lima's extreme water shortage problem could be solved. They noticed that even though the rainfall in Lima was scant, the humidity was high. Due to the city's coastal location, humidity can be higher than 90% on summer days. The engineers wondered whether they could harness the moisture in the air. So again, the sentence is here. They noticed that even though the rainfall in Lima was scant, the humidity was high. So what do you think in paragraph 2 helped the reader understand what scant means? A, coastal location. B, extreme water shortage. C, even though the rainfall. Or D, problem could be solved. Okay, go ahead and answer your question now. Okay, you should have selected answer B, extreme water shortage. When we look at that sentence, they notice that even though the rainfall in Lima was scant, the humidity was high, meaning the rainfall was small. They didn't have a lot of it, but the humidity was high. So they didn't have a lot of rain coming down, but there was still a lot of moisture in the air. We knew that by that line, extreme water shortage. Where was it? Lima's extreme water shortage problem could be solved, right? Because they had no rain, but they had humidity. That is what gave us the hint that scant meant very little, okay? Coastal location would mean that it was a very wet area, right? It's the opposite. And even though rainfall, that is not really the hint. It's extreme water shortage. Okay, let's look at question 5. Which sentence from the selection explains why the water produced by the billboard is significant? Okay, is it A, that Lima, the capital city of the South American country of Peru, is located near the Pacific Ocean in the Sahara Desert? B, the water then flows through pipes into a storage tank at the foot of the billboard? C, because of the scarcity of water, 1 out of every 10 residents has no access to running water? Or D, the water vapor in the air condenses, becoming liquid water? Okay, go ahead and select your answer now. Okay, you should have selected answer C. Let's go through the answers again. The question is asking, which sentence from the selection explains why the water produced by the billboard is significant, meaning it's important, okay? So Lima, the capital city of the South American country of Peru, is located near the Pacific Ocean in the Sahara Desert. Okay, that's really just about the geography. It's not really telling me anything about why that water is important for the people there. B, the water then flows through the pipes into a storage tank at the foot of the billboard. Okay, that's giving me details about how the billboard is like functioning, what it does, but it's not really telling me why it's important or significant. Because of the scarcity of water, 1 out of every 10 residents has no access to running water. Okay, that's a really big problem, and that billboard is solving that problem. So that is very significant. If 1 out of every 10 residents has no access to water, this billboard could be very significant into helping them with this problem. That is why C is the right answer. And then we know that D is not right. The water vapor in the air condenses, becoming liquid water. Because again, it's just telling you about like the science behind the billboard. It's not telling you why it's significant or important. Okay, question 6. The organizational pattern of the selection allows the author to A, explain how a problem became worse over time. B, highlight the steps taken to address a specific need. C, compare different companies' approaches to solving a problem. Or D, describe how the lack of necessary resource affects the local people. Okay, go ahead and answer this question now. Okay, you should have selected answer B. Let's go through the answers. A says that, let's reread the question first. The organizational pattern of the selection allows the author to. Remember, organizational pattern refers to how the author has written it, okay? That could be chronological order. It could be problem solution, cause effect. We know at the beginning of the story that they present us with a problem. We just read about it, remember? 1 in every 10 residents has no access to running water. And then they present a solution, which is the billboard and how that billboard has been helping people. So we know that it is a problem and solution organizational pattern. Does that pattern allow the author to explain how a problem became worse over time? No, because the problem got better over time. Was it allowing the author to highlight the steps taken to address a specific need? Yes, it was. That's exactly what a problem solution does. It tells you the steps that were taken to address that need. It's not comparing different companies and their approach to solving a problem. It's just one company that solved this problem. And then it doesn't describe how the lack of necessary resources affects the local people very much. It just says that this is a problem. Let me tell you about the solution that we've come up with. It doesn't go into a lot of detail about how it's affecting the people. Okay, number 7. The author wrote this selection most likely to A, reveal that water scarcity is a major issue in Peru. B, suggest that billboards are an effective way to advertise products. C, describe the process of turning moisture in the air into drinkable water. Or D, highlight a partnership that created an interesting solution to a problem. Okay, go ahead and answer the question now. You should have selected D. Okay, let's go through the answer choices. The author wrote this selection most likely to, meaning what was the author's purpose? What was their original intention or their why for writing it? Do you think that they were trying to reveal that water scarcity is a major issue in Peru? Well, they may have wanted to call some attention to it, but the overall article was more about the solution they found, not the problem. So it's not A. Do you think that they wanted to suggest that billboards are an effective way to advertise products? Well, this billboard isn't even using it as an advertisement, so we know that that can't be the right answer. Does it describe the process of turning moisture in the air into drinkable water? It does describe that, but that's probably not why the author wrote it, right? They weren't writing this as an informational article where they're just giving you straight facts. They did have a problem and a solution, which means that they were trying to highlight a partnership that created an interesting solution to a problem. Okay? This next section is going to use both stories, okay? So you're going to be comparing and contrasting those two stories. Question 8 says, one difference between the selections Breaking Out of the Box and A Bountiful Billboard is that A Bountiful Billboard, meaning story 2, does it A, focus on a project specific to a location, B, discuss the future potential of an idea, C, compare various uses for the same material, or D, express concerns about a new idea? Okay, go ahead and answer this question now. Okay, so let's think about each of these answer choices. You should have selected answer A. It is answer A because it's asking about a difference between the two stories. Okay, answer A says that A Bountiful Billboard, story 2, focuses on a project specific to a location. We know that's true, right? In A Bountiful Billboard, they're setting the whole thing up in Lima, Peru. Whereas in Breaking Out of the Box, it was all over the place, right? It was talking about different artists all over the country and even the world, okay? But our second story, A Bountiful Billboard, was focusing just on a specific location, Lima, Peru. Let's look through why the other ones are wrong. Does the second story discuss the future potential of an idea? No, it doesn't talk anything about what might be some of the problems that come up from the billboard. Okay, does it compare various uses for the same material? We know that that's more about story 1, whereas this question is asking about a story 2 more. And then the last one, D, expresses concerns about a new idea. Again, in story 2, they're focusing on why their idea is good, not why their idea is bad. So it has to be A, focuses on a project specific to a location. Okay, let's look at question 9. It says, what is one important benefit of shipping container apartment buildings and the billboard in Lima? Is it A, that both inform people about an opportunity? B, both prevent landfills from overflowing? C, both provide a resource to a community? Or D, both are found in urban and rural areas? Okay, go ahead and select your answer now. Okay, you should have selected answer C, that both provide a resource to a community. Let's look at the answer choices. It's asking, what is an important benefit of both the shipping container apartment buildings and the billboard? Do both inform people about an opportunity? Well, it's more about the actual physical thing. It's not really an opportunity necessarily. So we know it's not A. And then B, both prevent landfills from overflowing. Not necessarily. The shipping containers do have that environmental plus, right? That they're keeping them out of landfills, but the billboards don't really have anything to do with the environment. They're not trying to keep them out of landfills. C, both provide a resource to a community. That is true. If they're able to build cheap housing or cheap apartment buildings, that's a resource to a community. And then, like they said it in the second story, a billboard that can produce water is a huge resource to a community. So it has to be C. And then the last one, D, both are found in urban and rural areas. For at least the Lima one, we know that that one is in a city, right? They don't talk anything about being in the rural area, so we know that that can't be the right answer. Okay, now let's look at question 10. It says, read this sentence from Breaking Out of the Box, story 1. By cutting out hallways and creatively stacking the containers, engineers are maximizing the use of the boxes. Which sentence from story 2, A Bountiful Billboard, is related to this idea? Is it A, that this can supply hundreds of families with water each month? B, they made a billboard that extracted moisture from the air and converted it into drinkable water? B, but the citizens of Lima and other cities in arid regions around the world are hopeful? Or D, additionally, UTech recorded a 28% increase in enrollment since the installation of the billboard. Okay, go ahead and select your answer now. You should have selected answer B. They made a billboard that extracted moisture from the air and converted it into a drinkable water. Okay, when we look at the first sentence that they're talking about, it's talking about how they cut out hallways and creatively stack the containers, and engineers are maximizing the use of the boxes. Right? They're basically talking about how they build things and what is the benefit of building those things, right? It's kind of talking about the functionality of the boxes. How are they being used? What are they doing in order to create their final product? The closest one to that is B. Okay, let's look at the other answer choices of why they're wrong. A, this can supply hundreds of families with water each month. Okay, that's more about the overall benefit of the billboard, right? It's not talking about the actual way that they're built or the way that they're put together. That's closer to B. They made a billboard that extracted moisture from the air and converted it into drinkable water, right? They're both talking about how they're built. C, but the citizens of Lima and other countries in arid regions around the world are hopeful. Okay, this first sentence talks nothing about people, doesn't talk about their hope. It doesn't talk about anything like that. So we know that's not right. And then lastly, additionally, UTech recorded a 28% increase in enrollment since the installation of the billboard. That's more about kind of a benefit way down the road, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the actual structure and the way that they physically built things. B. Okay, last one, 11. Both selections explore the ideas that involve A, using technology to keep the environment clean, B, collaborating to solve an urban problem, C, redesigning an object to serve a new purpose, or D, recycling materials that are typically considered trash. Okay, go ahead and select your answer now. Okay, you should have selected C, redesigning an object to serve a new purpose. Okay, let's look at the answer choices. A says using technology to keep the environment clean. Okay, the first article talks about the environment and how the shipping containers can be reused and that helps the environment, but the billboard isn't really anything having to do with the environment. B, collaborating to solve an urban problem. Like I said, in the first one, we don't really know where the shipping containers are. It could be in urban or rural areas. So we don't think that that is an idea that both selections are exploring. Both do talk about how redesigning an object can serve a new purpose. For the shipping containers, that meant building apartments or art or things like that. And for the second story, that meant repurposing a billboard to be a way to get people clean water. And then D, recycling materials that are typically considered trash. Again, no one's saying that a billboard is trash. We're not trying to keep the billboards out of the landfills. That's more about the first one, so we know that D is not the right answer. Okay, that is all you have for today. I hope you have a really good rest of your day, and good luck on STAR. Bye.